with rats.
Okay, but seriously, no long intros. Just like with the Lizardmen, it's time for another classic fantasy race. Ratmen. Skaven.
Rats.
This one has been heavily requested, so this time I won't just be doing 2, but 4 models. Also, half of said models will not be utilizing double model layering, as I know a lot of people don't like that. Now, as always, links will be in the description below to these models if you want them, and there are also chapters at the bottom of the video if you want to skip ahead to a certain concept type. Now, enjoy. Let's start with some very basic single model rats. I don't know if we have any Vermintide fans in the chat, but I for one have always found the Cowardly Sack Rat to be an incredibly iconic Skaven unit. So of course I'm going to start by making one of those. Now, rat models are a bit more forgiving than lizards, as I don't need to stack faces to make their heads look good, but otherwise it follows a lot of the same principles as I outlined in that video. You want them to be very hunched over, and we're going to need to find methods to cover up that thin human neck to give them a proper animal humanoid look. You know. Anyway, let's get on with it. Coloring these kinds of models is always a lot of fun. Like, rats are practically made for gritty and grimy colors, which my own library is absolutely chock full of, so I finally have an excuse to literally throw all of my dirt at these models, and it's fantastic. All in all, both of these rats are quite simple. I'm not even using extra arms to add anything fancy to these. The most advanced thing I'm doing is probably decal kit bashing, which only really adds minor detail anyway, but these two are just the beginning, the introduction. So let's get on to some of the spicier stuff now that we're moving on to the army rats. Now, we're going to do something a bit more ambitious and different. I'm going to be working on 2, technically 3 different models separately and yet all at once here. We're going to have one huge armor-wearing juggernaut rat, and then we're also going to have 2 smaller rats working together to hold up a huge heavy crossbow, almost like a ballista. And all of them will kind of bundle in together under the package of army rats, you know? These are the warrior rats, alright? So this big rat warrior is kind of designed to look like a bit of a rat parallel to my big lizard man from the last monster video. So we're going to need a lot of wraps, a lot of chainmail, and a lot of plate, and soon enough also a lot of horns to make him even remotely competitive. Just bear with me, okay? It will be great. Honestly, I love equipping characters with absolute garbage like this. Like, some of Heroforge's best pieces are all these wraps and ruined plate bodies and shoddy chainmail, so honestly it's great to have an excuse to use them. If you're someone who only makes fancy characters, honestly I recommend making some dirt poor peasants or whatever. It is a lot of fun. And the decal kit bashing, because of course, it's all these little rats really need at this point. I mean, much like with the previous little ratlings, I'm leaving these two fairly basic, right? Like, again, I could load them with extra arms, I could stack weapons, blah 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 blah, but honestly, I don't think they need it, and added clutter at this point would just take away attention from their already cool looking armor. You know, respect the actual good Heroforge pieces for what they are. Now, since this guy is obviously inspired by Warrior Rat from Skaven lore, I also wanted to have some of those iconic back spikes going here. Fortunately, Heroforge recently dropped some incredible new horns, right? And by changing their size around and clipping them into this huge torso, I can have them stick out a little wherever I want without actually ruining the helmet, so this is just perfect. Following up on those shoulder spikes, I also want some skull trophies and an actual banner, so I'll be using extra arms as well as a tail-held banner in order to make this warrior look like a proper, you know, banner-carrying warlord. And much like I did on Saraul in my D&D video, I also have a lot of spare decal kit bashings here that I don't really need for anything else, so I'm going to throw down a lot of faded claw marks and a little bit of blood on him, you know. It adds a bit of final detail before I wrap this up, and you know, all in all, I'm very happy with how this one turned out, but I do also generally just have a certain bias towards oversized plate-wearing monsters. Every proper build needs a hunched over decrepit looking warlock figure, and that's what we're making now. This is basically going to be Gul'dan if he was a rat, okay? Like, I'm talking skulls and sticks and horns and canes and everything. It's going to be great, have faith. Now again, just like with the Warrior Rat, I cannot recommend these new horns enough. Like, they have a really nice high-res texture to them, and they're also just very, very slim. They look good with pretty much everything, so I really can't resist just to throwing them in a little bit of everywhere right now. As for the actual clothing, we are predictably going to be going very, very dark, but that is also very intentional. I know that it's a bit of a meme that, you know, us Heroforge elitists just paint everything in really dull greys, blacks and browns, but like, if you use that monotony to then highlight one specific area of color, which we'll get to soon, then it will really stand out, more so than if everything was colorful. Now, these little Harry Potter ones that I'm about to start clipping all throughout this rat, both on the main and the extra model, were probably my favorite part of this model. By just kind of having all of these slim little wooden sticks poking out through his back, I feel it gives him a very uncanny, almost like spider-like silhouette, even though in reality he is just a creepy little rat in a warlock's robe. Again, this character does not have many flat surfaces on him, right? So there wasn't really much room for specific heraldry or symbols with the decal kit bashings. Therefore, I instead just took the chance to splatter him with some more grime and blood, much like the previous model. You know, he probably does ritual sacrifice. It makes sense, it makes sense.
Rats, where are the rats? If you made it to the end, then thank you for watching. As I said, links will be in the description below if you want them. If you like this video, then please press like. If you dislike this video, then by all means press dislike. And if you want to be a real MVP, you should also let me know in the comments what sort of monster models you want to see me do next. Now, goodbye, until next time!